Coming in Facebook, coming in YouTube, getting ready to start my show, Jimmy Rants. Hello, Johanna over on YouTube. Thanks for being here. Gonna do this Ask Me Anything. It's what we do on Fridays. I always look forward to the Fridays because I literally never know what you guys are gonna ask about. And that's always fun to me, to not know what's coming. But nevertheless, sometimes I get on here and I wonder, okay, is anybody gonna actually ask me questions? Because I sometimes get on here and you guys are silent for a long time and I have to go, all right guys, I need questions, I need questions. I mean, I can talk about anything, but it's good on Fridays if we're gonna do this show, Ask Me Anything, that I actually get questions to ask about. Hello, Bonnie and Norma and Nancy, thank you all for being here. Some of my regulars always pop in. Johanna and Shirley always pop in over on YouTube. Kind of in the early times. I'm trying to think, do I have some, yeah, I've got a few regulars that come on Jimmy Rants on Instagram. There's about a dozen of you that like, and Kira's another one of them, always comes on every episode. I'm really appreciative that you guys support the work I do on every topic I talk about. Like I go all over the board on the topics. And so I love the fans. Sup, dog? There's my my web guy Hank. I always talk about him. Go and check out Hank Garner. He does really good work for me, and I really appreciate him, even if I have to dig at him a little bit sometimes. Hey Robbie, hey Cindy, hello Terry. Norma says thanks for your 911 post, exceptional. Thank you, Norma. I feel like we're at a point in our country that if we don't hearken back to what happened right after 9/11, where everybody was patriotic and rallied behind each other, if we don't do that soon, we're probably going to see the end of the United States of America. I'm going to talk a little bit about that at the beginning. I don't have any articles that I'm reading from, but since this is September 11th, I wanted to take the opportunity to talk about my memory of September 11th and kind of go a little further than I did even in that post. So thank you for your compliment about the article. Hello, Carol. All right, guys, so we're gonna get started over on Instagram Live. It is Ask Me Anything, so please start getting your questions ready. Put them down there. We will definitely come to them in due course. And I would appreciate the questions, and thank you for being here today on Jimmy Rants. All right. Hello, Deborah, over on YouTube. Thanks for being here. I don't know why I have YouTube so far away. I'm like leaning forward trying to see what are they saying? So, all right, let's get this show on the road. And here we go. It's Ask Me Anything time here on Jimmy Rant. So ask me your questions. Click on that little box down there in the corner. It'll take you straight to IGTV for today's episode. JimmyRants.com is the website, and as always, you can engage live in the content. Go follow me. I'm over on Instagram. I am at Livin' Low Carb Man, LIVINLOWCARBMAN. Once you're there, you can join Rhonda and CMBR and Heiser Hines, Cheryl, Savinka. There's so many people coming in so fast. I love it when you guys come in fast to watch Jimmy Rants. We are here Monday through Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, so thank you for being here. We also simulcast live over on my Facebook page. Thank you guys for being here, as well as on my YouTube stream. Thank you all for being here today on Jimmy Rants. If you missed the live, you can watch it on replay on IGTV right here on Instagram. We also put the past episodes up over on YouTube. If you type in a keyword Jimmy Rants, you will find the show. And then finally, pop on over to JimmyRants.com. That's the official website for this here show. And once you're there, you can actually see all of the past episodes. But most importantly, you can actually support me. A lot of people say, hey, how can I support you? I love your content. You give us so much great content. How can I feed back into what you're doing? And so the way you can do that is click on one of two ways. There's a PayPal link at JimmyRants.com. And also there is a Patreon link if you want to do a monthly donation. I have a lot of people that do like a monthly donation for the Patreon, and they get exclusive things. And so one of the things they get is around Thursday, we post on Patreon for all the people that support me. the videos of my interviews for the next week. So right now, both of those interviews are available for you to watch right now if you become a Patreon. And we got all kind of little perks planned if you do join. So again, go to jimmyrants.com and all those links are right there. But welcome, guys. Thanks for being here. Today is Friday, and on Fridays I do an Ask Me Anything. Literally, you can ask me any question you want to ask. So I know a lot about keto and fasting and cholesterol, pretty much health in general, what it's like to be online and some of the challenges that come from that. I also have obviously podcasting, video making, and literally anything you want to ask me personally. I get all kinds of interesting questions all the time. What did you do before you started doing this work? And and I have answered that one before. So ask your questions. Be sure to go ahead and put them down there. And when the time comes, I will come to you here in just a moment. So usually at this point on Ask Me Anything, I usually turn to a list of stack of stuff where it's just quick little things to talk about headlines. I'm not doing that today. Today, guys, is September 11th. And if you are an American, September 11th has a very deeply emotional connection, right? Like if you were alive September 11th, 2001, then there's no way that day did not change the course of your life. That day was so sad in American history, sad in world history. And I was in my late 20s, early 30s, I forget exactly how, I was 19 years ago, so I was 39. And so I never in a million years thought anything like that would happen in the United States of America. And I think we had seen such relative peace for so long on American soil that most Americans at that point didn't have any clue of the hatred for America that was out there. I think we know that Americans are kind of mocked in foreign countries. And if you did not know that, we're mocked in foreign countries. Sometimes in a playful way. I've got some Aussie friends that they always talk like this around me because they think all Americans have a Southern accent apparently. But yeah, I mean, it was a day that I think we all woke up to the reality that this world is a lot more evil than we realized. And there's things going on in it that if you weren't aware of it before 9/11, 2001, you became abundantly aware of it. And what's sad to me is people that were born in like the late 90s, early 2000s, and are now in society as teenagers or early 20s, they don't understand how profound 9/11 was. 9/11 was unbelievably sad. And in the days just after 9/11, it was great watching what happened in the days and weeks and even like 6 months after 9/11 happened. We saw more patriotism for America than I had ever seen in my lifetime. And you saw American flags flown out in front of businesses and along the highway and in front of people's houses. You just saw it everywhere. And that's what the impact of this really traumatic terrorist attack against our country did for us. But deep down inside, something worse happened. I think we quickly took that attack and then began to attack each other. I wrote a whole post about this on social media today. Definitely go write about it or read it when you're done watching Jimmy Rants. But I feel like 9/11 was the beginning of the great divide that we're now seeing play out right before us in 2020. And we have more philosophical differences amongst each other than ever before. And it's not even just political differences. Sometimes it's just philosophy on life differences. And it's unfortunate that there's this just great division. We used to be called the melting pot, that people of all different kinds of backgrounds and education and experiences and interest all came together in this one beautiful country called the United States of America. And yes, we'll have disagreements with one another, where some people will believe one way, other people will believe the exact opposite way, but they're not enemies. They're both Americans. And it saddens me that we have not learned the lesson of what happened on 9/11, 2001. We're still living in, I guess, where we enjoy butting heads, and I don't understand why there has to be such strife, such division, such everything that splits us apart when we as a society can do so much more together. It just breaks my heart that if you don't believe the way someone else believes, suddenly you're their enemy, and vice versa. And I don't mind someone having a different point of view than me. What I do mind is when that point of view becomes, you're my enemy and I must attack you and bring you down. And I think that's what's happening in America right now. It's worse now than it was before 9/11. Like, we had some major divisions in the year 2000 going into 2001. It was a bad, contentious political election for president that year, and it bled over into the next year, and there was just such ugliness out there. And then 9/11 happens, and suddenly all that fell by the wayside. And not that I wish there was a 9/11 in 2020, but I wish there was something that would shake people and wake them up, because we're in that same boat we were in then now. And to a more nth degree, what will it take to get people to stop being so contentious with one another, respect other people that have a point of view that you don't agree with? Trust me, guys, I see points of view on a daily basis that I abhor. I'm like, oh my gosh, how can that person believe that? But as a rational thinking person, I like to engage those people, not in an ugly way, but in trying to understand how they came to that conclusion. And then vice versa. I expect people that disagree with me, okay, engage me and let's have the discussion. But what happens is it becomes a yelling match. It becomes a let's call each other names match, and that doesn't get anywhere. And that's starting to bug me a lot. And it's burdening me that if we continue down this path of you're the enemy, 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 we're going to go to a civil war. It's inevitable. How can we avoid it? I've been thinking a lot about this lately, and it's just 9/11 is just kind of bringing all these thoughts to the forefront. Which, by the way, let me tell you my 9/11 story. So September 11th, 2001 at 5 a.m., I get a call. And I still had a landline. That's how long ago 2001 was. And I was actually in my bedroom right over there, and the phone rings. I was a substitute teacher at the time, and I thought it was a job for the day, because they would call you early in the morning. Hey, we need you to come to such and such school and teach. And so it wasn't. They were like, hi, it's the blah, blah, blah executive producer for Regis and Kelly, which is the morning show. I think it's now what? It's Kelly Ripa and Ryan Seacrest, right? So Kelly and Ryan now, but back then it was still Regis and Kelly, and Regis just died recently. So, and they were like, hey, you're gonna be on the little show with the little game that we do. You send in an email where you want to be a contestant on our little spin the wheel thing. And I'm like, oh wow, I'm gonna be the contestant. I'm like, okay, that's cool. September 11th, 2001. So they said, yeah, just here's the guests that were on yesterday. Go ahead and do some research if you didn't watch the show. And I had not watched the show. So I started researching on all these different guests that were on there. And I had all kinds of notes all written out. It took me about an hour and a half, 2 hours. And they said, sit in front of the TV. We'll call you right around like 8:30 Eastern. And then the show starts live at 9 a.m. And so, okay, I'm actually sitting not on this couch, because if I still had the same couch from 2001, I would be an old man. So no, I had a different couch, but it was literally, I was right here in Jimmy Rant's studio. I was right here waiting, watching the television, waiting for Regis and Kelly to come on. So I turn on the TV where it would come on. I'm on hold with them because they called me 30 minutes ahead of time just to make sure I'd be there. And then, of course, as soon as I turn on the TV, the first tower was already on fire. And I was like, okay, what's going on in New York City? And then I come on, the show starts, and you could hear Regis and Kelly talking about, oh, it looks like something's happening in New York City. There's a building on fire. I hope everybody's okay, and da-da-da-da-da. And of course, meanwhile, I'm not seeing anything on the screen. I'm just hearing it on my phone. I'm not seeing anything on the screen about the show because they still are showing the 9/11 stuff. And then not long after we were on the phone and they were jibber jabbering like they always do at the beginning, the second tower gets hit, and I'm sitting here watching it live, and in the audience you could hear this gasp. It just was suddenly dawning on them that something was wrong. And I remember seconds after that, that producer lady comes back on and she says, "We're under attack in New York City. I don't know when we're going to call back." Click. And I'm sitting here going, what in the world is going on? And of course, it was a somber rest of the day, watching all the footage. And of course, when the towers fell and watching all the devastation that took place and realizing that thousands of people had lost their lives because of this incident. It was heavy. If you weren't old enough to remember that, or you have somehow let that slip your mind in some way, remember the gravity of that day. And the gravity of that day, that feeling we all had of what's going on, I think we need to rekindle that. And the spirit of the patriotism that followed that, because I'm sorry, I'm proud of my country. I think the United States of America is an amazingly great country. And we all believed that in the days following 9/11, in the months after that. And we rallied together. And I just so bad want the spirit of that moment to rise up with us today. You know, and some people think, okay, that's kind of sappy. It's like, okay, America is horrible. It allowed this, it allowed that. Okay, great. America has had mistakes. But overall, America's good. Why do you think so many people want to come to America? They want to come to America because we are the place of opportunity. We are where things can be better for literally anybody who seeks after it. And I so desperately wish we could get that message out there loud and clear. All right, let me finish the Regis and Kelly story. Obviously, the next 2 weeks, nothing was on television. It was wall to wall to wall to wall news all about 9/11. But 2 weeks later, I get a call back from Regis and Kelly. Okay, we're coming back to do the show. This was the very first show back after 9/11. It was 2 weeks later. Might have been 3 weeks later. I forget. Time, it's 19 years ago. It's hard to remember the details, but it was a few weeks later. And they're like, okay, we're going to ask you the same question we would have asked you on 9/11 if we had a show. So don't worry about having to like figure out, you know, some other, keep your notes that you had and then we'll ask you. I get on there and I actually posted the video of it, by the way, on YouTube. It was very, very archaic. The iPhone was not out yet, so I couldn't get like good video of it. And so it's horrible, horrible video, but you can see it over on YouTube. I put it up many years ago. I think if you put in Jimmy Moore, Regis, and Kelly, you will find it on YouTube. But you'll see the whole segment. And you could tell they were trying to be jovial. They were trying to be uplifting and make it a fun show. And they were over the top with the fun. And so when I get on the line, all right, Regis is saying, okay, we have Jimmy Moore from Spartanburg, South Carolina. Hello, are you there, Jimmy? And I'm like, I'm here. And you couldn't hear it on the air. And then you heard, and then they're like, it sounds like we're having technical issues with Jimmy. And he said, are you there? I said, hey, buddy. And everybody in the audience laughed. And it just became this really fun segment. They started kind of making fun of that I was on the phone and trying to have this kind of conversation with them, and everything was a joke. You could tell they were trying very hard to make things happy again. Then we get to the actual contest, and this is where the hilarious parts comes in. They spin the wheel, and when they spin the wheel, guess what the vacation was that I had a chance to win? Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. So it's like 2-3 hours from my house. And so, Kelly's like, you could call home, wouldn't cost you a dime. And it was a golf trip as well. And so Regis is like, so do you golf, Jimmy? I went, no. And they all laughed again. And so it was just kind of funny, the whole segment. I did end up winning, by the way, and was able to go to Myrtle Beach. I had actually never been to Myrtle Beach, even though I lived in South Carolina. At that point, 2001, had only lived here about a year. So I had not been to Myrtle Beach yet at that point. So my first foray to Myrtle Beach was paid for by Regis and Kelly. That was kind of fun. But that's my 9/11 story. Had a good time. On the beach, I actually took my heel. I got out real early in the morning and wrote out, "Thank you, Regis and Kelly," and took it from my balcony because there was a beachfront little place that they put me up in. And so, and sent that to them. So it's funny how you have these memories of such a horrible event, and I think out of horribleness there can be beauty, and I'm hoping that for what we're going through here in 2020, we desperately need some beauty to get us out of this morass we are in. All right, guys, so that was my story about 9/11. I'm definitely interested in seeing your questions. If you just joined us, this is Ask Me Anything on Jimmy Rants, so this is your time to shine. Give me some questions to answer. I did get a few ahead of time over here on Instagram, but ask me your questions. Keto, cholesterol, fasting, social media, podcasting, video making, book writing, anything about me, just ask away. We got plenty of time to answer all your questions here on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. So get them ready. I'm going to go to the ones that came in ahead of time first. All right. This goes along with what I was just talking about. What good things have we Americans adopted ever since the tragedy of 9/11? Can I tell you? I don't know that we have. I think everything that has happened since 9/11 has almost been a let's forget about that event that happened and let's just move on with what we want to do. I don't think we learned anything, if I'm being dead honest. Good things we Americans have adopted. The only thing I can think of is maybe a few more people were made more aware of just how disliked America is by certain other entities around the world. And maybe we didn't realize that before 9/11. Now, I think we always knew there were things. When I was a kid, it was the Cold War with Russia and all that. Gorbachev and Reagan having the little talks and all this stuff. And so that was the only kind of consciousness a lot of Americans had. But 9/11 put it on the map that, we have enemies. And so, but as far as like things that have been implemented and adopted since 9/11 that have been good for America, I can't think of much. Honestly, I hate to be pessimistic, but it's not been good ever since 9/11. All right, next question. Jimmy, are you worried about COVID-19? I wasn't that concerned, but as this goes on, I'm getting more and more concerned. So I would ask people that are worried about COVID-19, what exactly are you worried about? Do you think that if you get it, it's a death sentence? Because that's one thing I guess you would be worried about. Are you worried that if you get it, you might pass it on to someone you love? Is that the worry? Like, I don't understand at this point. The death rates are falling. And people's immune systems, for the most part, are fighting this thing off. I've done many a Jimmy Rants where I've talked about the T cells have actually been taking care of COVID-19 pretty well in most people. This is the so-called COVID positive asymptomatic people. Yes, they have COVID positive test, but they never got any symptoms because previous coronaviruses where their body fought them off, and just T cell production in general, being able to fight it off, have made them asymptomatic. And the recovery rate of this, when you look at the percentage of the total population of people who have died versus the total population, I mean, you're talking just a little speck of risk of that kind of death. So am I personally worried about COVID? No. I have obviously fat on the body, so that would be a comorbidity, but I don't have any disease. I don't have heart disease. I don't have diabetes. I don't have any of the other things that would make this rough on me. Plus I do all the things. I eat real food. I'm able to get sunshine and movement and all of that. COVID-19 could cause large medical bills. Maybe that's a worry with the question you got. Well, maybe, but I will tell you, if people are worried about it from a medical perspective, then live your life in fear and stay locked up in your house and just don't get anywhere near other people. I think that's what's been the challenging thing in all of the restrictions around COVID-19. The choice of the individual has been completely removed from the equation. If people are scared, if people think this is going to harm them in some way, then by all means, stay home. Get your groceries delivered. All the things. Because if you're that scared, then you should stay home. And I know there's some people that are in the high risk category. My mom is one of them. She has the myasthenia gravis, and she has extra weight on the body, and she has some comorbidities, let's just put it that way. And so she's staying pretty much at home. She lives with my sister, and so she's staying away from people, as she should be. And if you're in that high risk category, then you should certainly do all the things. But if you have fear in your heart about COVID-19 coming to get you, then go ahead. Lock yourself away from people and all the rest. Some people want to go out there and live their lives again. And I think it's just unfortunate that there are choices being made for people where you can go to Walmart and you could go to a casino and you could go to all these different places to shop, grocery store, to shop, but yet those same people can't also go to church, go vote, and go to a beauty salon and some of these other things. There's a double standard going on, and I think that's what people are expressing concerns about. Is, okay, does like COVID know you don't mess with people at Walmart and Sam's Club and and here's another thing people say, like going to a restaurant, you put the mask on to go into the restaurant, you get to your table and you take the mask off. At that point, any particles and aerosol thing would get out in the air if you're talking to someone. So what exactly are you doing that way? So for me personally, no, I'm not worried about COVID-19. What happens, happens. And I've been out and about, and I have not had, other than those things I've talked about to you guys before, where I was really tired one day early on in this, and then 3 days about 2.5 months ago. Maybe I got exposed to it, my body fought it off, but no, I'm personally not worried, and I'm definitely not more concerned today than I would have been, say, 5 months ago. I think this thing is on its way out, personally, and it won't need a vaccine to make that happen. But that's just my personal opinion. All right, let's see. How about this one? I became addicted to sugar after having none for 2 years. I'm assuming you mean since COVID-19 hit. What are the tips to get off of it again, this darn pandemic? Yes. You're not alone. I think we turned to some food for comfort, and unfortunately that comfort food that's sweet on the tongue gives us a dopamine release, and we get some really kind of good biochemical reactions in the body that make us feel good, and that's what we're desiring. And especially those of us that have been heavily sugar addicted, When you've been heavily sugar addicted and you've overcome it, that doesn't mean the addiction's necessarily gone. It's just dormant because you've overcome it and taken away the addiction. But when life hits, like COVID-19 and all the rest that has happened in 2020, you're going to have that inkling where you want to have something familiar that made you feel comfortable. Like, I can't tell you I haven't walked by a display of Little Debbie snack cakes in the grocery store and not, like, for a moment thought, I'll grab a box. I have. And I think we all need to just acknowledge that we're having that pull. Now, you actually gave into it, and I say more than anything, just love yourself. Don't beat yourself up about this. Yes, you now know getting back in that cycle is just gonna be a you know what to get out of. But go back to the basics. Like I literally wrote in Keto Clarity, when everything's going awry, just get back to the basics of what you know to do. And I would say when you're cutting that sugar and you start getting those carb cravings, that's when you need more fat and protein to kind of offset that. And a lot of times people, they have the craving for sugar, but then when they eat fat and protein, especially animal-based, it actually zaps it away. I know it's very difficult because your brain is like, I want that sugary food. But what your body's actually saying is, I want real food. So give that a go and hang in there. We are all in that boat together because a lot of people have been struggling with that. But thank you for your question. Next one, which book of yours was your favorite to write and why? Oh, that's unfair. I've got all of them over here. My favorite one to write and why. I mean, obviously each one has its own story. Cholesterol Clarity was my very first book with a major company, a major publisher. So that one will always have kind of a near and dearness to my heart because of that. It was kind of my first foray into becoming I'm now a known author because of that book kind of got it started. Had that book flopped, there never would have been any other book. So indirectly, that's the one that predicated everything that came after that. And then the very next book that came after that one was Keto Clarity, which is my claim to fame. Most people know me because of Keto Clarity. And so I remember this was the book I wanted to write first. When they said, hey, we want you to write books for us, what do you want to write about? I said keto, ketogenic diets. And they just were like adamant that nobody would care about keto. And that's when I had to write the cholesterol one. They said, what else you got? And I kind of went down the list and I said, cholesterol is kind of an interesting topic to, yes, that one. And so that's why Cholesterol Clarity came first. And I've talked about this before. I'm glad I had to write Cholesterol Clarity first because I kind of had to learn how to write for a publisher. I had self-published a couple of books. These are my 2 self-published books that I had done previously. This was the one that sold 10,000 copies that got the attention of the publisher. And so then Cholesterol Clarity was the one that came along first. But had I not gotten my feet wet with this one and learning some of the ways that a publisher works, this book would have never been as good as it turned out. But this was my baby. Like literally, this was the epitome of everything I was passionate about at the time and still passionate about today. And I poured my heart into this book. I literally rewrote it over 100 times just to make sure that it said everything I wanted it to say. So if I had to choose one that I'm most proud of, it's this one because I still to this day get all kinds of people writing me and saying that was the book that got me interested in keto. And then I went and learned and got into carnivore and da-da-da-da-da. And so people tell me more about this book than any other. As far as your question was favorite to write. Wow. I guess it would have to be this one. Real Food Keto is probably my most underrated book because this book has so much information in it that goes beyond even keto. It goes into kind of food quality and making sure you get all the nutrients in your body, and the why, and the whole how does it affect your endocrine system, which are all your hormones. To me, we need to kind of know the ins and outs of how this way of eating works, and then getting people to become sufficient in this vitamin when it's low. And if you don't get enough of this vitamin, it ends up manifesting physically in your body in this way. So I think if I had to choose one that was my favorite one, it has to be real food keto. But Keto Clarity will always hold a special place in my heart. And probably my best-selling one currently is the one I wrote with Dr. Fung, The Complete Guide to Fasting. In fact, I'm seeing on social media, on Instagram, people showing the translation. So it's been translated into, this one has, into about 20 different languages. And I saw the French one today. Somebody had the Dutch one the other day. So I'm all the time getting that. Same with Keto Clarity, has about 24 translations. Yeah. So it's kind of cool to see your book in another language that you kind of look at it and you go, I have no idea what it says, but it sounds like a cool book. So, but thank you for that question. Why is stevia still so popular? Stevia should be replacing sugar, don't you think? Oh, still not so popular, sorry. I wouldn't say stevia is not so popular. I think stevia has a public relations problem, because you have different types of and mixes of stevia. The popular one out there is Truvia. So you might see it in the green and white box in your grocery store, and people think, oh, this is stevia. No, it's not. It's actually GMO erythritol, primarily, with just a speck of stevia in it. That's it. So people think that's stevia. Then people that do want just pure stevia, they get one that's not a great one, and it's extremely bitter, and so they put it in their tea or whatever, and it's just like, ugh, so they get turned off. I like kind of this liquid stevia, and in the liquid form, they don't have to like bulk it up with some bulking agent, maltodextrin or some other thing, and just look like little minuscule amounts. Usually stevia does do better when you mix it with another sweetener. It kind of enhances the stevia. But what has happened with like Truvia, for example, they're pitching it as stevia, but it's actually very, very heavily erythritol. So I don't think it's not popular. I just think it needs a little better formulations that people can buy into it. I personally, when I am using sweeteners, I like Swerve, which is a non-GMO erythritol. And they have a powdered version, they have the granular version, and then those liquid stevia. So when I'm making my little gelatin electrolyte things, and if I want a little bit extra sweetness, I'll just put a few drops of the stevia, liquid stevia in there, and do it in that way. I like the one from Keto & Co. is the name of the company, Keto & Co. If you want to look them up, but they have a very good liquid stevia. All right, guys, that's all the questions that came in ahead of time. It's your time to shine now, so let's see what you have to say. We're going to go first over here to Instagram, then over to Facebook, finally over to YouTube. Keep your questions coming in, because we do have quite a bit of time left to answer questions. But thanks for being here. JimmyRants.com is the website. Fasted Human says, I love your book, The Ultimate Guide to Fasting. I would think a person with the username Fasted Human would love the Complete Guide to Fasting, but thank you for that. That's awesome. Keto Court says, how much do you think social media both fuels the division and magnifies our perception of others? Oh, you're hitting on a big part of it. 2001, there really was no social media. 2001, maybe MySpace was out there. I'm trying to remember what was going on in 2001 as far as that goes. A lot of it was forums, blogs, but it really wasn't, like podcasts weren't even around at that point either, not as much as they are now. But yeah, I think being able to be anonymous and put out attacks on people without having to suffer any consequences for those attacks will naturally breed division. and it will make people seem like there's something that they are something that they're not, in a bad way. Like I always, when I'm interacting with people on my social media pages, I'm always giving them the benefit of the doubt. I don't assume that they're as big of an a-hole as they come across in their written message. Okay, I always assume, okay, they're passionate about whatever they're saying. Let's try to get to what they're saying and address that. The problem is most people don't filter that in their head. They just see the attack, and their brain registers that attack as if that person's saying it to their face. And that's where we get into trouble. It's why there's such contentiousness about everything. Like literally when I got in the diet and health space, I had no idea. I would be attacked because I tell people to eat bacon and steak. But I got attacked because I told people to eat bacon and steak. And it's just amazing to me that you could fight over something like that. But it's not the topic. It's the setting by which that topic is. So yeah, I agree with you, Keto Court. I think social media and just the anonymity of the internet in general makes it where people feel like they can literally say anything they want because there's no consequences for their actions of doing so. And it's unfortunate. I don't think you have enough people that are thinking and trying to engage in a kind way. I try really hard. And I mean, we're all human. We're all going to have that guttural reaction, especially when you're labeled a name that is not at all true, but they put that label on you anyway. You kind of feel this urge to want to defend yourself a bit, and that's unfortunate too, that people have to be put in those positions. All right, thank you, Instagram. Keep your questions coming. I will come back to you here in just a minute. This is Ask Me Anything. It's the show I do on Fridays on my show, Jimmy Rants. So thanks for being here. Be sure to keep asking your questions. All right, let's come over here now to Facebook. What's up, Facebook? Let's see what you have to say. Kira says, I like the Keto Mojo. That's a blood ketone meter, but I know you use the BioSense one. Yes, there's BioSense right there. Why did you say Keto Mojo was found less accurate? Is it from people touching and jamming the strips into the device, maybe damaging it? I don't know anything about that. I just know, Kira, that when I did side-by-side testing with the Precision Extra, which up until Keto Mojo came along, Precision Extra was the only game in town when it came to testing blood ketones. It was pretty accurate, and it was pretty darn close. So when I started doing side-by-side with both the Keto Mojo and the Precision Extra, I was seeing great disparity in the numbers. And Keto Mojo always registered higher ketones, which made me think, okay, their sensitivity to the beta hydroxybutyrate is too high on their meter. Now, maybe they've adjusted it and maybe they figured this out, but when you test on a Keto Mojo, you're almost always going to have a higher reading than you would on the Precision Extra or the Keto Coach X. So those are the things that I have concerns about. As for the BioSense, this here, there's no pricking of your finger and you blow into it and it's a 10-to-1 ratio. So again, if you have a 10 reading on the BioSense, then it translates over to a 1.0 on the beta hydroxybutyrate. And anything that's less pain and good accuracy, I'm all for. And this one, they actually put it through FDA approval. They also went through various clinical trials, testing its veracity, and it's pretty darn good. So I'm not a fan of Keto Mojo. If you still insist on testing your blood ketones, I'm a fan of Keto Coach X. And I think they do a great job. And they're about to release a meter that is both blood ketones and blood sugar, which I think will help them with their company. So thank you for that question, Kira. Tracy has the next one. This is a funny one. Have you ever had a crazy stalker? Well, it just so happens I have, actually. And what's funny is when I became a little more famous online and people knew I lived in Spartanburg, South Carolina, I had people actually look up my address, use Google Maps to drive here. I remember very famously one night at about 9 o'clock at night, somebody comes to the front door and is like, "Is this where Jimmy Moore lives?" I was like, "Oh crap." And I cracked the door open and I said, how can I help you? Are you Jimmy Moore? I didn't want to answer yes, but yes. Oh, I'm your biggest fan. I just wanted to come and thank you. I'm like, at 9 o'clock at night, you wanted to come thank me? Um, thank you, but this is highly inappropriate. Can you please go? Like, I didn't want to be rude, but it was the realization that I'm like, oh crap, like I have to like be very careful. And at that point, I almost thought about building a wall all the way around my property. But I'm like, no, I'm not. No, I don't have to do that. But that was kind of a weird, crazy stalker interaction that I never in a million years would have imagined would happen. So, but thank you for that question. Judy says, how often do you use sweeteners daily? No, I don't really use sweeteners that often. Only when I'm making something like dessert wise, but I even don't make that much for me like that. It's sparingly for me. Now, back in the day when I was still trying to get off of the sugary stuff, and when I made the transition from standard American diet over to low carb, yeah, I used a lot of sweeteners. But the only sweeteners now are the ones that are in like a diet soda. If I decide to have a cherry zero, which is my favorite diet soda, but even that's not regular. Or if I'm making some kind of a dessert, if I'm going to a function, I'll have some on hand for that. But really, I don't have a lot of sweetness in my diet. When you eat carnivore, it kind of like knocks that out of you. So I love that. Christine says, what temperature are you comfortable with in your house? I keep mine at 67 in the summer, 68, 69 in the winter. I'm like you, Christine. I like to have it cooler. In this room where Jimmy Rant Studio is, I keep it at around 69, 68, 69. When I'm sleeping at night over in the other building, I actually turn my air conditioning down to 65. Because when you're trying to sleep and sleep well, the cooler you can get, the better. And of course, I have the Oura Ring, which measures my body temperature while I'm sleeping. And so I'll wake up the next day and I'll see, okay, did I run hot or did I run cold? And not only do I have 65 degrees when I'm sleeping, I have an overhead fan. I've got a fan next to me blowing. I got a fan at the foot of my bed blowing towards my feet. I'm trying to be as cool as possible with that 65 degree setting on the air conditioner. And it usually does the trick. It gets me plenty cool and I'm able to cool down. And last night I had nearly 3 hours of REM, the REM sleep, and 2 hours of deep sleep. Of the 8 hours I slept, 5 of it was this incredibly restorative sleep. So yeah, I'm a big fan of not letting yourself get too hot. And I'm also a fan of the ice baths. I haven't done one in a while. I need to get back into the ice baths again. There's many people that have talked about ice baths. Metabolic Mike, Ben Greenfield. Just go look up the guys and they can tell you all the science behind ice baths. But they are wonderful. But thank you for that question. All right. Thank you, Facebook. Let me go over here now to my YouTube channel, see what questions you guys have. Shirley says, my sister was glued to the TV after 9/11. The first plane hit. When the second one hit, she ran out of the room yelling to mom. It sent chills down my spine. I was in the 8th grade. Yeah. Vadim says, met you and your wife a few times. Surprised to learn you're not married. Well, I am still married. It is coming to an end soon, but if you can, is it because you grew apart or something personal? Yeah, I can't really talk about it and don't want to talk about it right now. Just know that we got to places in our life where we were not on the same page and I decided to move on. So life happens. What was your favorite vacation spot and the places on your bucket list you would love to visit one day? Great question, Vadim. By far, if I did not live in America, I would live in Australia. And specifically, well, not Melbourne, Australia right now, because it's a whole dictatorship happening right there right now, locking people in their houses. But Tasmania which is an island off the coast of Australia. It's still considered Australia. Is one of the most beautiful islands in the entire world. I think it's the secret of Australia that nobody wants you to know about. Nobody there wants you to know about, because it's spectacular, and it's not that long. I think it's like maybe 50 total miles long, this island. But man, it's like two main Launceston, I forget the name of the towns, but there's two like main towns, and then this long road that's beautiful. And I would love to live there. The climate's beautiful. So as long as I had a good, strong internet connection and I could do Jimmy Rants and all my work, I would live there if I could. And it's not out of the realm of possibility that if I meet someone in my life that wants to live there, that we could up and live over there. So maybe. But that was the best one. Now, where have I not been in the world that I would love to go? I've never been to Paris, France. That would be something cool to go. But really, I'm a wanderluster. I love just visiting different places. Now, with what I get to do for a living, I have had a lot of opportunities in various parts of the world: Ireland, UK, New Zealand, Australia, South Africa. I mean, I've been around the world, so I'm very grateful for that. But will never turn down an opportunity to go to a place I've never been before. All right. Thank you, YouTube. Appreciate all those questions. Let me come back over here to Instagram. Keep the questions coming in, you guys. Got plenty of time left to answer your questions. Let's make sure I didn't miss any here. Ketones, I love that username, key_tones. What is the most interesting thing you've learned recently about diet? Interesting thing I've learned recently. So I just recently interviewed this lady named Judy Barnes Baker. She's a long time friend that I've known in the low carb space. And I interviewed her on my podcast, and it's airing actually next week. If you're a Patreon follower, you can actually go and watch that video of my interview with Judy Barnes Baker. You can go watch it right away when we're done here if you want to go join my Patreon. But Judy had something major happen to her right around 5 years ago. 5 years ago, she started having a decline in her health, and she couldn't figure out why, but she was just getting worse and worse and worse, and doctors were like, we don't know what's going on. She ended up being in a wheelchair and was this close to dying. Want to know what it was? She finally got a functional medicine doctor that identified that she had vitamin A toxicity. She consumed eggs, liver, kale, like all these things that are good, low carb, ketogenic foods. She was consuming them, as we all do. And her body's storage of that vitamin A was too much. We need vitamin A, yes. But when you get it in abundance, your body starts storing it up. Well, that excess vitamin A in the body, which can't be like removed very easily, even if you fasted, it doesn't come away that fast, can actually become toxic. And so it's a shocking interview that I hope you definitely check out. It'll be on the Living La Vida Low Carb show on this coming up Wednesday's episode. But that was the most interesting thing I have learned about diet lately. Now, does that mean all of those foods are bad? No. What it means is get your vitamin A levels back down again, and then you can start eating them normally. And she had me a little bit worried because one of the things was eggs, and I eat, because I have backyard chickens, I eat about 8 eggs a day. And she's like, you might have some vitamin A toxicity, and one of the signs is you just can't lose weight. And you have other kind of health issues, which she describes on the podcast. I don't want to ruin it for you, but that was probably by far the most interesting thing I've learned lately about diet. But thank you for that question. A raw egg diet exclusively with no dairy. What are the pros and cons and side effects? Well, I just mentioned one of the cons potentially could be vitamin A toxicity, but why would you do that? Like, what's the point? What are you trying to accomplish with a raw egg diet? I assume you say no dairy, you mean not cooked in butter, but if they're raw, you're not eating butter. Um, so yeah, I don't know what your goal would be. So I can't really give you pros and cons unless you tell me, are you trying to lose weight? Are you trying to get stronger? Are you trying to see what changes in your cholesterol profile can happen? Like, what's the goal? And then I can help you further. Eggs, Avidin binds biotin, eggs deficient in iron. Okay, well then don't eat eggs. Have red meat. Eggs are the perfect ketogenic food according to Dominique D'Agostino. Well, they are the perfect macronutrient ratio. So if you're looking for limited carbohydrates and ample amounts of protein, which are not too much, and then plenty of fat and cholesterol, it is the perfect food for someone eating keto. I don't think Dom is saying that it's the only food someone should eat. I think what he's saying is if you eat keto, add eggs because it automatically has all the ratios perfect for what your goals are. I know some people that they throw away the egg whites to get rid of the avidin and they only focus in on the egg yolk. And I think that's beautiful to get all of the nutrients that would be in an egg. The egg white, basically, primarily all you get there in addition to the avidin is the protein. But yeah, eat mixed diet. I think having any diet that's only one food ultimately will end up being detrimental in the end. But thank you for that question. I think I saw another few questions come in over on YouTube. Got somebody harassing me over there, guys, so I'm trying to ignore him. Oh, it's the guy probing about my being separated from my wife. Yeah, buddy, not gonna happen, but thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. The way I see it is I allow you into my personal life. You do not need to abuse that privilege that I give you to share things about myself. And so definitely don't need to pry when I close the door. But that's all I will say about that. All right, guys, that's it for Ask Me Anything. You guys are out of questions. So if you're out of questions, I'm out of here. That's it for this episode of Jimmy Rants. JimmyRants.com is the website. As always, go follow me over on Instagram. You can watch this Jimmy Rants live Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Be there, be square. You can see me on Instagram at Livin' Low Carb Man, LIVINLOWCARBMAN. We also simulcast live over on my Facebook page as well as over on my YouTube channel. A bunch of people over on YouTube today. That must be why I got some weirdos. You bunch of weirdos over there on YouTube. But I do love you guys. Thank you for being here today on Jimmy Rants. If you missed the live, you can watch it on replay here on IGTV. Right as soon as this is over, we will pop it up there. We also pop it up over on YouTube. Just type in a keyword, Jimmy Rants. Way to address the facts. Yes, I'm all about facts. Thank you for that. YouTube, you can find the show over there as well. Then finally go to the official website for this show. It is jimmyrants.com. And once you're there, you can see all the past episodes, but you can also support me. Go click on the PayPal link for a one-time donation, or you can support me through Patreon, which I told you about the perks earlier. Definitely a donation of any amount would be greatly appreciated. All right, John, you're trying to bait me into talking about something I don't think is necessary to talk about, so nice try. I've got some harassers over on YouTube. See, guys, my life is never boring. I always have people like John that like to stir the pot, but love you, John, man. Thanks for being here, and thank you guys for being here. We will see you again on Monday at 11 a.m. Eastern. Bye. Have you tried Keto Chow, says Vadim. Of course, Keto Chow has been a long time favorite of mine, and I've talked about them quite a bit. In fact, I've got 3 or 4 bags in there now. I don't eat it all the time. Yes, I know, Kathleen, not all YouTubers are weird. I have to call out the weird ones, though. So, but yeah, I sometimes mix like gelatin from Vital Proteins or Further Food, And then I also put in like a scoop of the keto chow and maybe a little bit of the stevia drops, and then make these little squares that could be like a quick little bite if I'm in a hurry and don't have time to cook something. I have those in like a Tupperware type of thing to pull out. I can see someone watches and believes the news. Yeah. Tracy says keto chow is great. Yeah, my favorite flavor. Well, they have a secret flavor that you might not know about. As far as they sell it, but you don't know its effects. Get the strawberry one. If you get the strawberry cheesecake, I believe is what it is. Strawberry, they made it with a different sweetener than they did some of the others. And what that sweetener does is it enhances the sweetness of any other thing that's sweet. So you can do this experiment. Get the strawberry one. KetoChow.xyz is their website, or JimmyLovesKetoChow.com. They used to sponsor me, and I'm sure that's still a live link if you want to go look. But get the strawberry one. Try it first. Then go drink any other one. And you will feel the flavor of the other one so much more intensely. It's pretty amazing. Yeah, Tracy, try strawberry and then go to like another one, and you will be shocked by that. So, all right, guys, let me pop off of here for now. Thank you so much for joining me today on Jimmy Rants, and I will see you guys on Monday. All right, you weirdos, I'm going to see what you're saying here. John, you tried to bait me into talking about my president. I think he happens to be one of the greatest presidents we've ever had in this country. And you need to respect the President of the United States, regardless of who's there. There have been presidents in my lifetime that I think are disgusting human beings, but guess what? I never once called them any derogatory names, because you respect that office. Because if we as Americans don't respect the office of the presidency of the United States of America, here, it's just you guys, I'm going to pull you in. If we don't respect the occupant of the United States of America, civility is over. And I hate you're very indicative of what I was talking about at the very beginning. John, you can keep sharing all of your leftist propaganda, but unfortunately, it doesn't work with me. I'm a thinking American. I'm someone who can think for himself. I don't need an Alzheimer's patient telling me how to think about issues. And so you need to be a lot more willing to think for yourself. And you simply can't understand that there are good Americans who love the current occupant of the President of the United States. And you're going to find out November 3rd just how much they love the current occupant of the United States of America presidency. Okay? I know that's not what you wanted to hear, but oh well, I don't give a flying fuck. Got it? How about that? Bet you didn't expect that. All right, guys, I'm going to pop off of here for now. Thank you so much for being here, and we'll see you on Monday. Unless your name's John.